The old oak grandfather clock in the hallway struck 3 times as I sat across from Nadia in our father's study. The familiar scent of old wood and worn leather, once comforting, now felt suffocating. Nadia's flawless fingers tapped lightly on the antique desk, his desk, while she fixed me with a look that barely concealed her disdain. "I don't understand why you're even here, Maya," she said, her voice dripping with the same superiority she perfected since we were kids. "The will is quite clear. My name is Maya Patel, and at 34, I found myself battling for what was rightfully mine against the one person who should have been my ally. Nadia, my older sister by 2 years, had always been the ideal daughter in our family's eyes, or at least, that's what she wanted everyone to believe. I'm here because this isn't what Dad wanted," I replied, keeping my tone calm despite the fury building within me. "You know that as well as I do." Nadia's lips curled into a cruel smile as she retrieved a document from the top drawer. The paper was crisp and new, too new for something supposedly written by our father in his final days. "Really?" she said, sliding the will toward me. "Because according to this, signed and notarized just 2 weeks before his death, Dad wanted me to have everything. The estate, the business, the investments, all of it." She leaned back in our father's leather chair, folding her arms. "He knew I was the only one capable of carrying on his legacy." I stared at the document, my heart racing. The signature looked like Dad's, but something didn't sit right. I had spent the last 5 years working side by side with him at Patel Industries, learning every intricate detail of the company he built from scratch. We had countless conversations about the future, conversations that didn't include Nadia. "This doesn't make sense," I said, looking up to meet her eyes. "Dad and I were working on the Thompson contract just before he got sick. He was teaching me everything about running the company." Nadia's eyes flashed with irritation. "Pretending to be his assistant doesn't make you qualified to run a multi-million-dollar corporation, Maya." Dad realized that in the end. "Why else do you think he changed his will?" The words stung, but I refused to let her see that. I thought of the small recorder in my purse, the one containing our father's final conversation with Nadia. He had grown suspicious of her behavior in his last months, the way she had suddenly started showing an interest in the company after years of dismissing it as beneath her. "You weren't even around when he was sick," I said quietly. "I'm the one who took him to treatment, who stayed with him on those long nights, who ran the business when he couldn't." Nadia stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "And now you think that gives you the right to something? Please, you were always the emotional one, Maya. Too trusting, too soft. Dad needed someone who understood that business isn't about being nice." I watched as she walked around the desk, her heels tapping on the wood. She grabbed the will again, waving it in front of me with a smug smile. "It's all legal, little sister. Everything Dad built, it's mine now. And my first order of business," she paused for dramatic effect, "you're out. I want you gone from the company and from this house by tomorrow morning." I rose slowly, grabbing my purse. The weight of the recorder inside felt like a reminder of the truth I was holding. "You really want to do this, Nadia? You want to destroy everything we could have built together?" She laughed, a sound that made my skin crawl. "Together? You're too naive, Maya. You were never meant for this life. You're just like Mom, always trying to do the right thing, always seeing the good in people. That's not how you succeed in this world." Our mother had passed away when I was just 12, but her lessons had shaped who I was. She taught me that integrity mattered more than wealth, that families should support each other. Nadia, however, had rejected those lessons and embraced the ruthless, no-holds-barred approach our father had once believed in. "You know what's funny, Nadia?" I said, walking toward the door. "Mom taught me one more thing, that the truth always comes to light." Her smile faltered just slightly. "Is that a threat?" "No," I answered calmly. "It's just a fact. You might have Dad's signature on that will, but we both know it's not what he really wanted. And someday the whole world will know the truth." Nadia's expression hardened. "Get out," she snapped. "And don't even think about contesting the will. I have the best lawyers money can buy. You'll lose everything." I walked out without another word, my mind clear and my heart racing. Nadia thought she had won. She thought she had finally proven herself the stronger sister. But what she didn't know was that I had a secret, one that would unravel everything. I got into my car, feeling the reassuring weight of my purse beside me. Inside it was the truth. Nadia might have the will, the lawyers, and the temporary power, but I had something far more valuable: the evidence of her deceit. The following morning, I sat in my small apartment, surrounded by the few items I had salvaged from my office at Patel Industries. The recorder lay on my coffee table, its tiny red light blinking as I played back the conversation between Dad and Nadia for what felt like the 100th time. "You really think you can threaten me?" Dad's voice crackled through the speaker, frail but resolute. "After everything I've worked for?" Nadia's voice was cold. "It's not a threat, Dad. It's insurance. Change the will, or the truth about the Dawson deal comes out. You really think your investors will stick around if they know what you did?" I paused the recording, rubbing my temples. The Dawson deal, a scandal from years ago that Dad had worked tirelessly to amend. Nadia had discovered the old records and used them as leverage. My phone buzzed with a message from Raj, our father's longtime lawyer. "Coffee in 20, usual place. Urgent." I grabbed my purse and the recorder, heading to the cafe where Raj was waiting. He was already there, looking weary, his suit slightly disheveled, dark circles under his eyes. "Maya," he greeted, standing. "I've been going over everything. The will, the company records, the paperwork. Something's wrong." I sat down, ordering a coffee. "What's going on?" Raj leaned in, lowering his voice. "The notary who signed the new will, there's no record of them. Their license number doesn't exist." A wave of relief washed over me. She forged it. "It's worse," Raj continued, pulling out a folder. "I've been going through the company's finances. Large sums transferred to offshore accounts, hidden fees. Nadia's been setting this up for months." I thought back to the late nights I'd seen Nadia at the office before Dad's illness. She hadn't been learning the business, she'd been plotting. "We need more," I said, pulling out the recorder. "This might not be enough on its own." Raj listened to the recording, his frown deepening. "It's a start, but we need something more solid. Nadia's been careful." "I might know where to find that," I said. Dad kept a second set of books, handwritten, in his personal safe. He told me about them last year, his backup plan. Raj's eyes lit up. "Can you access it?" I nodded, thinking about the safe hidden behind the painting in our father's study, the combination that only he and I knew. "Yes, but we'll need to distract Nadia. She's keeping a close watch." Just then, my phone buzzed again. A message from Sarah, my best friend who worked in tech at Patel Industries. "Nadia's on a rampage, looking through your files. What's going on?" I smiled, showing Raj the text. "Looks like we're not the only ones who are concerned." Raj nodded. "She's scared. She knows there's something that could bring everything down." "We'll get the books," I said, my resolve hardening. "And then we'll expose her." The next 24 hours would decide everything. Nadia thought she had the upper hand, but she didn't know what was coming. I was prepared. The morning light filtered through the blinds as I sat in a corner of the cafe with Raj, both of us strategizing. Nadia was growing more dangerous with each passing hour, and the weight of what we were about to do felt heavy. But there was no turning back now. I couldn't allow her to win, not after everything she'd done, not after how she manipulated the truth. "Here's the plan," Raj said, his voice low and serious. "We'll get into the safe after hours when the house is empty. I'll use my contacts to make sure there's no alarm on the property. You know the combination, but we'll need a diversion to keep Nadia off our tail." I nodded, heart pounding. I was already thinking of 100 different ways this could go wrong, but I had to stay focused. Nadia was ruthless, but she didn't know everything about our father's final months. I did. "I'll take care of the distraction," I said, already planning my approach. "Sarah can help with getting the files from the server at work. We'll have everything we need." Raj studied me for a moment, clearly thinking through the risks. "You sure about this, Maya? Once we get into that safe, it's not just the will we're exposing. There are other things, dangerous things." "I've been through this in my mind 1,000 times," I said, my voice steady. "Nadia has already crossed the line. We're not just fighting for the business anymore. We're fighting for what's right." We agreed on a time that night when Nadia would be at a gala for one of her business partners. Another way she was trying to strengthen her position in the corporate world. While she was distracted, we would slip into the house and uncover everything she had hidden. By the time evening came, I was a bundle of nerves, but I knew this was the only chance to set things right. As I prepared to leave, my phone buzzed with a message from Sarah. Got the files. Be ready for your signal. Perfect, I muttered, slipping the phone into my pocket. I knew the signal would be simple. A text with a single word, now. I arrived at the house just as dusk was settling in. Ra was waiting in his car parked down the street, and the house appeared eerily quiet. Nadia's black Range Rover was nowhere to be seen, which was a relief. We had the house to ourselves for the next couple of hours. I approached the front door cautiously, my heart racing. I had spent years living in this house, but tonight, everything felt foreign. The darkened hallways, the rooms filled with memories of my father. This was no longer a place of refuge, it was a battleground. I quickly texted Raj. I'm in. Within minutes, he was at the back entrance, his eyes scanning the area for any sign of danger. I led him through the back hallway to the study, the heart of this entire scheme. When I reached the painting that hid the safe behind it, I felt a sense of familiarity and dread. This was the place where Dad had shared his final thoughts with me. The memories were still fresh, sitting here, talking about life, business, and the future. He had trusted me, but Nadia had betrayed him, and I couldn't let her get away with it. I keyed in the combination, the numbers burned into my memory, and the safe clicked open. Inside were piles of documents, tax returns, legal papers, business reports. But there, on top of the stack, was the file I was looking for, Dad's personal ledger. Got it, I whispered to Raj, pulling the file out carefully. Raj examined it quickly. We need to get these copies. We can't risk leaving the originals here. I nodded, flipping through the pages. The handwriting was unmistakable. Notes Dad had written in the margins, things he never mentioned to anyone. It was clear now, he had been preparing for a day like this. He'd known someone would try to steal everything from him, but he'd never anticipated it would be his own daughter. As we made copies of everything, I heard a noise. Footsteps, a car door shutting. My heart leaped into my throat. Nadia? Raj whispered urgently. She's back early. I glanced at the window, and sure enough, I saw Nadia's silhouette through the curtain. She was pacing in front of the door, probably trying to get back in after a night of celebration. The last thing I wanted was for her to find us here. I grabbed the copies of the documents and shoved them into my bag. We need to leave now, I said. Go, go, go. We made our way toward the back door, trying to stay as quiet as possible, but the creak of the floorboards seemed too loud. My pulse was pounding in my ears. We were so close to escaping with everything we needed, but it felt like we were on the edge of being caught. Just as we reached the door, I heard Nadia's voice. Maya? Her tone was calm, too calm. I know you're in there. I froze, heart sinking into my stomach. She knew. Somehow, she knew we were here.